We are back with another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. I hope you guys are having a great day, a great week, wherever you are and whatever day it is for you. It is actually Wednesday. We're coming at you from the midweek. Usually we're doing this on a Friday, but I ended up opening a couple slots on my Wednesday just to, felt like getting some conversations in. So now we're coming from you on a Wednesday. And we got Justin Freistadt with us on the podcast. He is a fund manager at Pitch Equity. So this should be an interesting one. If you guys out there are interested in the fund model, this would be the one to listen to. Justin, I'm excited to jump into this. Thanks for hopping on.
Absolutely. Love doing this stuff. Should be fun.
All right. So I told you before we get on here, we always like to start with stories. We like to hear how people got to where they are. So why don't you take us to the beginning of your story in real estate and just tell us how you got here?
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like real estate's one of those things a lot of people don't start in it. It definitely wasn't my background. I had the direct sales background, 10 years of building a business, and then we sold that off to a private equity firm. But while we were building that company, I was always interested in, okay, how do we turn, income into long-term wealth? And real estate was what I was most interested in. So it started with just buying a condo, living in it for a year to get the, best interest rate instead of the investor rate, moving out, buying another one, then townhouses. And then I got really interested in multifamily. So I was too busy operating the business to do it myself. So I started deploying capital into syndications on the LP side and really learning the bigger scale of multifamily. And that's where I got really interested in, okay, when I'm done with this chapter, I want to get into the investment world, not necessarily on the operations side of it, but the capital raising, the deal structure, the relationship, investor relations. So I learned real estate at deep enough level to underwrite deals, but I hate doing it. So, that's where looking for partners when we exited that business. And now I'm a fund manager. So I'm managing, the money side of these deals. And I've got great partners that have 20, 30 years of experience that can go get deals off banks or off market properties at major discounts. And that's what I realized the difference between deploying my own money into syndications versus being on the GP side of this is the money's really made when you buy the deal.
100%. Yep. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why, just thinking about your story, it's one of the reasons why I like real estate so much is there's so many different roles you can take, different ways that you can go about doing it. It's not just when people think, I want to get into real estate, they think they're going to buy a single family and rent it out. That is the model that everybody has in their mind before they get into it. They don't realize that there are so many different ways to go about being in real estate and creating wealth in real estate, and creating a fund or being a fund manager is one of them. So why don't we go into a little bit more in depth on that topic itself? Not a lot of people understand the different structures that you can purchase real estate in, syndications, funds, etc. So tell us, what does a fund manager do, and what is that structure? Give us a little bit more insight on that.
Yeah, lots of ways to set up a fund and a syndication, an SPV, special purpose vehicle. There's all these different terms for essentially the same thing, which is we have a fund structure that has a private placement memorandum, which just allows you to compliantly raise capital from other people and then deploy it into a real estate deal. There's other ways to do it. You could do a small JV and just start an LLC. But the proper way to do it, if you're really going to crowd fund from a lot of people, is to set up a fund structure. So a 506B is one way to do it. That's where you raise capital from people that aren't accredited investors, but you can't market if you have that structure. A 506C means we only take capital from accredited investors, but then we can market our deals to the public. So I only do 506Cs. It's just my personal opinion. If you don't have 100,000 or more to deploy and you're not accredited, I think your money is better spent getting better at generating income than being in the private placement world. So, but yeah, essentially, we put deals together in two different structures. We have a customizable fund. So we have one PPM at the top. This is different than how almost all funds are set up. So this is good for people to hear. And the PPM is not deal specific. So it's just allows you into the fund. And then within the fund, there's separate deal disclosures for how you want to allocate your capital. So we have a debt fund where we pay 1% a month. So for people who want to be involved in a deal and just get a predictable cash flow and be on the debt side of the capital stack, which is less risky, they can get 1% a month payments on a 5-year note. And then we give them a 24% kicker on the back end. So that internal rate of return, the IRR, ends up at 16.34 fixed. So obviously a whole lot better than putting your cash in a money market or a CD or a muni bond at 2, 3, 4% right now. So that's one way to get into it. Or the traditional way is you can go straight SPV, direct into the deal on the equity side. And we target 18 to 24% IRR like everybody else, but we're very strategic when we buy. The deal we just bought in Chattanooga in less than 6 months is already a 4x return for those investors.
Wow, you guys must have got a deal on that one. 4x in what you said, 6 months?
Yeah, so this is a massive project, though. We're talking 120 acres of waterfront development in
Mm.
Chattanooga, and
Is there waterfront in Chattanooga?
the whole thing's right on the river there.
Oh, okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Yeah, it
Yeah,
makes
so I
sense.
mean, we're talking hotels, multifamily, mixed use, a whole downtown,
Oh, okay.
marinas, about $4 billion of development, and the CBRE appraisal came in at 131 million. We bought it at a $26 million valuation, with over $100 million of tax incremental financing from the state of Tennessee. So these are, a different level of deals when you're being funded by the government.
Interesting. Okay. So I mean, I want to stick on the fund model. I want to get a little bit deeper into that, but that deal you said was piqued my interest. I'm curious. Why would someone, I mean, how'd you find it at 20 if you bought it at 26 million and it was immediately appraised at, what'd you say, 126 or something like that?
131.
Why did that person sell at 26?
Yeah, so this is all relationships, right? So CEO and founder of the fund is Scott Boroff. He's been doing this. He did $1 billion on Wall Street as an investment banker before going to the private side. 20 plus exits, taking 2 companies public. It's when the billionaire families in a city and everybody's been
Mm.
doing development together for 20, 30 plus years. It's that's the only way you're going to get a deal like that.
Got it. And so this was mixed use. It was not a single structure, a single, multifamily hotel, something like that. It had multiple properties, a big multiple parcels even. Tell us a little bit about this deal because I'm interested. I haven't heard of anybody getting such a discount on something that large.
Yeah, and it's all about private rounds, right? So if you can get it at X valuation, and then you go, and the reason why that return is there is because a new capital round was just funded at $1 million per percent on the project, right? We came in, it was 225,000 for 1% of the project. So it's got tons of phases in terms of horizontal land development is mostly what needs to take place. There are cash flowing structures, buildings already there. There's a little port on the water there that has cash flow. But if a developer comes in and buys a part of that land at a higher valuation, you're at the front end of a long chain of development where most people would be at the end of that and developing a single family after all of the horizontal development capital has been made.
Yeah, that makes sense. What is the grand plan for this development?
It's very complex. It's got a ton of stuff going on.
Hmm.
Even student housing from TCU is needed. That's going to be on there. So that's how part of how it's an opportunity zone fund as well. So you can come in and you got your 10 years and tax free gains on that. But yeah, there's a jail that's being converted into. A lot of people don't know this. Chattanooga has the fastest high speed internet in the country, and
Really?
and
Good
it's
for them.
actually a central hub between Atlanta and all these different cities for Hollywood type stuff. So
Hmm.
Hollywood's coming in. There's a lot of big investors that are going to be shooting movies in there. So we've got studios going up. Oracle's looking at buying a huge chunk of it for data centers. So you got all these different things going on. There's going to be a big downtown amphitheater, restaurants. The plans for the marina just got approved. So I mean, it's
Wow.
probably more than 10 years of development here.
Well, for any of you guys out there who are looking for a new metro to start investing, even small pieces of land, small single families, it sounds like Chattanooga is on its way up. So it's a good opportunity there. So you guys do both development and you have a debt fund within a fund. Usually, I hear people have when they start a fund, they have a specific purpose. It's a debt fund. They're only raising capital to go out there to lend to borrowers, or it's a multifamily fund. They're going out there, they're buying multifamily. So you guys, why did you decide to do a a fund within a fund model? Why have a fund and then multiple separate funds within it?
So for me, it's about the investor, the limited partner that comes in. And instead of saying like, here's my deal, it's here are the typical two investor avatars, and you either need income and cash flow or you don't and you want a higher equity multiple and you want to wait for it. So as a capital raiser, I want both levers to pull so that I can meet the needs of every investor on the way in. And we use both sides differently. The debt fund, we're paying out 12% over 5 years, and then with the kicker, it ends up at 16. But we can go right now. We're seeing big opportunities in private equity side. We're buying e-com businesses that are cash flowing 30, 40, 50%. We raise that capital, you pay out the 12 and you're arbitraging it and you give away no equity. So, and if the investor wants, income, fixed income, that's a better fit for them, right? And it works for the fund too. And if they want to participate more upside, we do the same thing that you're talking about, the direct deals, SPV type, raise capital into one thing and then it's returned.
Interesting. 30, 40, 50% on ecom. I actually, I don't talk about this on the show ever, but I do own an ecom business, and we do probably, it's not huge. We do probably 60, 70,000 a month in gross income, but our margins are like literally like 10, 15%. 30, 40, 50. That's insane. How are they getting those? I mean, I don't want to derail this from real estate, but
Yeah.
how are they getting those margins?
Yeah, so that's another thing. Scott and our CFO, they do all of the underwriting. They look at hundreds of them, but they've got a great partnership with. They've done over 50 of these e-com brands, and it's usually boring things like supplements and
Yeah.
where you can just make a massive spread, and they have a proven model of taking these U.S. based brands. From the same person that builds it to one point. It's kind of like what got you here won't get you there. The break points of business. Someone who's good at startup to a million's not the guy who goes 50 million to 10 million or whatever it is, or 100 million. So it's taking that, and then we have a partner that literally specializes in scaling it worldwide across Canada, Australia, Europe, with all just with sponsored ad and a ROAS model that scales.
There you go. Gotta love it. Awesome. So on the not on the debt side, on the actual, when you guys are out there going, you're the GP on deals in that fund. It sounds like what you're really doing is you're placing capital and you're finding partners to actually be the operators, be the ones that are actually getting the deal done. Tell us how you go about finding good partners. What is the criteria that you kind of have in the back of your mind when you're having these conversations? And yeah, what are you looking for?
For me, it's track record and leveraging experience. This is why I always have partners. My first couple funds, it was we were all kind of startup in the space, and we did really well. But you don't get access to deals like this if you can't leverage someone else's 30 years of experience. So I'm looking at a guy like Scott. I'd rather come in here and be his fund manager and learn from him than try and learn myself over the next 10 years. I've learned more in 1 year than I would probably learn 10 years of failing forward on my own. So I think the leverage of other people's experience is invaluable, and the connections that come with that, and the access is really what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and we say that so many times on the on this podcast is if you want to get good, if you want to have progress in real estate, the best way is to go out there and get a mentor, join a company like yourself. Somehow you need to learn from somebody who's already done it. There's no, it's the best shortcut you can find. There are no shortcuts, but that's the fastest way that you can learn. Watching YouTube videos, reading books, it gets you 1 inch down, but actually learning from somebody who's doing it currently is there's nothing that can replace that. So yeah, great advice there. So what is, looking on the horizon 2 to 3 years from now, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish here?
Yeah, we want to get Pitch Equities a new fund this year that we launched, and we want to get it to 100 million. That's the AUM target. And we don't do just monster deals. Like the one we're funding right now, it's a small waterfront single family development in Knoxville, Tennessee. Only 4.5 acres. It's going to be 4 single family homes. But again, Scott was able to get that land at 2 million. I think it's worth like 7 right now, and there's no debt on it. So I think that's a good lesson too. Is a lot of these operators I've seen, it's we get a deal under contract, and it's a race to raise the capital. and you're under a lot of pressure. You don't have negotiating power. Whereas, the way we're doing deals here, it's land's already paid in full. Like as the capital comes in at the price we want, then we start developing the horizontal land development. So, but that one will be a good one. It's a 1 to 2 year hold, 25 to 50% return to the LPs.
Nice. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't like the syndication model is you have to have the deal. You have to have the deal there, and once you have the deal, it is a race to get that capital coming in because you're already under contract. You already have this due diligence period that you need to you need to hit. So you have these dates that are marching towards you, and it's just a race to get that capital. So in the fund model, you got the money right there. It's already active. It's just going out there finding the deals. So sounds like you guys really like Tennessee. You said Chattanooga earlier. That is Tennessee, right? And am I being an
Yeah,
idiot?
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Scott's from
Tennessee.
Knoxville, so almost all these deals are in his backyard and relationships he's built over 30 years.
Nice. I love it. All right. Well, hey, I just took a peek at the clock. It looks like we have run it down. So it's time to jump into the quick question round. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Starts with education. It could be any form. It could be a book you've read, a movie you've seen, a mentorship program you've been a part of, anything. I just need two recommendations, one for general life wisdom and then one for real estate.
Whoa. General life wisdom. I go to this book all the time. It's called You Need More Money by Matt Monero. Love it. Absolutely love it. And it's not well known. So I like putting that out there. Just get your mind right. I think a lot of us have money complexes around just like why we're doing this. And um, you need to get wealthy for the fact of you may need to take care of someone you love at some point, things like that.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah. And then on the real estate side, I really liked it's not just about real estate, but it's about the mindset of how you invest. Justin Donald's The Lifestyle Investor is really good. And it's really about looking at return of capital timelines that aren't really factored into when people are looking at returns.
Yeah, finding the right time. Excuse me. Finding the right time to exit a property. I'm actually going through this right now. One of my I just listed two of my self storage facilities. They were the first two that I ever bought when I got into self storage, and for some reason, I just had this weird emotional attachment to them. The return on capital or the return on equity there was piss poor because I bought them at a great deal, and I had tons of equity in there, but they weren't. Their cash flow was it was whatever. But I just couldn't sell them for whatever reason. And I knew that based on the equity that I had in these deals, the actual cash flow that I was getting was not the best use of those funds, and I needed to sell it. And it took me forever to actually get to the point where I listed them. I don't know where I'm going with that. That was kind of an aside to what you said, but the point is, get out of your emotional connection with your deals, and when the time is right, just step away from them. They're just deals. It shouldn't be emotional, and just make the right choice. If you have a lot of equity in a deal and your cash flow, the return on equity is not great, just sell it and move it on to the next deal. All right, next question is for your younger self. Let's go back to the Justin who was just doing, I think you said single family or condos back in the day. Go back to him, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
Go much harder, fail forward faster, just get it out of the way, lose everything multiple times learning. I think the protection mindset that we all have when we have nothing, later on in life, you realize you were trying to protect pennies instead of just being all in, and it just was never as serious as you thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such great advice. And it's something I wish I went through the exact same thing. When I got started, I would be afraid of losing like $10,000. And it's like, it's it's not that much money. I mean, at the time it is a lot of money. But it's much better for you to just take crazy action, crazy decisive action, get out there, make some mistakes, get your face punched a couple times, and then the lessons you learn from those experiences, it's going to push you farther along the line than if you just held on to those $10,000 and were afraid to lose it. So really good advice. I'm going to move us on to the next one. This is about finding deals. It all starts with getting in contact with the seller and penning that purchase agreement. So what is your favorite way to generate leads and find new deals?
Find a partner who's great at it. That's that's what I do. Number one, and then the second part of that is build a big personal brand, and the deals will start coming to you.
Nice. I like it. Both really good pieces of advice. Partnering is it's kind of from the people that come on the podcast, there's a lot of, it's like 50-50. Some people say they hate partnering they don't like having partners. They like to do it all themselves. I'm on it's more fun to have partners. You get more done when you have partners. So just go out there, find some really good partners. You have to have the same values. You have to be pointed in the same direction. But I'm a huge fan of partnering on deals. And what was the second thing you said there?
Personal brand has been everything for me. I mean, creating content, no matter what you do, what your business is, ultimately you are a brand. And if you're building a brand, you're getting out and doing podcasts, things like this, you're going to get on people's radar, and a lot of this will be inbound to you. And you're going to see a lot of what you don't want, but you need a lot of reps in anything to get good at anything.
Yep, absolutely. And I will say, getting on podcast is a great way to get that ball rolling. Because for podcasts like mine, I'm just looking for people who are out there doing deals. If you are actively doing deals and you want to have a conversation about that, you can come on podcasts like mine, like others out there, and talk about what you're doing, and that will start the ball rolling. People will understand. They'll kind of brand you in their own mind, like this guy. He does storage. This guy, he's a debt fund manager, whatever it is, and that will give you a place in their mind, and you can start building that brand, building that recognition, it has crazy effects down the line. You don't really realize what's happening until you start getting that inbound conversations, and you'll be thankful that you did a couple years down the road. All right, next question is about lessons learned. Not every deal that we get into goes the way we expect it. In fact, pretty much every time something is going to go wrong. And that's when we get to learn a lesson. So what was a deal that went a little bit sideways for you? And then what was the lesson you pulled from it?
Yeah. Wow. Let's talk about the biggest one. My first fund. It was a hedge fund, so trading, nothing to do with real estate. Somebody stole a bunch of money from us, over $10 million. That was a hell of an experience. So then you get to go through your education and litigation and lawsuits. And I am going to give you an interesting take on this. If you haven't been through something really hard like that I'm talking a couple years of very difficult time, I hope you go through it, because you will get to find out who you are. When things are going well, you just don't even realize anything. And all the best lessons in life come from difficult experiences. It recalibrates how much you value those good times when they come back. And it's back to the protection thing we were talking about. It's like if you're always in protection mode, you'll never actually find out what you're capable of, and you won't appreciate what you do have.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really good advice. Again, you're coming with those gems. I think it was when in college, I think I got into like the self-help kind of Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, those kind of guys. And I think it was Zig Ziglar who said, I never want people to go through hard times, but I always wish you guys I'm gonna butcher it. Whatever, it was the same sentiment that you just said. And his point was the hard times make you grows your character, and it gives you the fortitude that you need in order to make the good times occur. So yeah, it's hard, especially when it's multiple years. Going through lawsuits is never fun. If you haven't gone through a lawsuit yet, if you're in real estate, you will eventually. It's just, it's part of the game. But you will come out the other side, and it's going to make you a lot better, a lot stronger of a person going forward. And that leads us actually to the next deal. Sometimes things go right, and there's this highlight moment in your career where everything kind of coalesced into something that you really, really did not expect in a positive way. So give us that highlight deal. What was it? And yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, it's actually not a real estate deal, but it taught me a ton. I mean, this definitely happened for a lot of people in real estate. 2017 through the COVID
Buy anything,
explosion.
and yeah, you make $10
Yeah,
million.
what I've learned is a lot of times we like to take more credit for our wins and losses, and there actually is a gigantic factor of the market that's out of our control that either kills you or brings you to a higher level. In my situation, it was we had a direct sales company, and we were doing organic food delivery when the pandemic hit. It was a very difficult business, but all of a sudden overnight, the whole world's sitting at home, scared to go to the grocery store, and put the whole world in the market for what we did. And yes, we had all the business capabilities. We we were good at everything. It was a really tough business that turned into a monster overnight. And then within a year, we had a big exit to private equity. And that taught me a lot about right place, right time. Don't get too high on your highs. And then when the market's punishing you, don't be so hard on yourself either.
Yeah. Yeah, it's half of everything really is luck. I mean, it definitely hard work. The more you work, the more opportunity for getting that luck comes your way. But a lot of it is luck. If you just right place, right time, you're in the right industry, doing the right thing, it just comes your way. And so, I'm kind of realizing I've been kind of thinking more about cycles, market cycles, and how just understanding what part of the cycle you were in and then taking the appropriate actions for that cycle, how important that is. Like you mentioned earlier, if you bought anything 2017, if you bought a single family house anywhere in the country in 2017 and held it until 2021, 2022, doesn't really matter what you bought it for, you're going to make some money. So just understanding where you are in that cycle, where we are currently in our cycle, and where the market will probably be going is so important, especially in real estate. All right, and that leads us to actually, I'm going to ask one more question. Usually I don't ask this, but since this is kind of what you do, I'm going to ask it. Raising capital is one of the most important things we do as investors because you run out of your own capital very quickly when you're doing big deals. So, what is your favorite way to go out and raise capital?
I'm gonna give an answer that's kind of like in all the sales I've ever done in marketing. I don't like having to hunt. I like to go broad and wide and have the leads come to you. And
Mm,
that's why building a personal brand is so important. When I first got into raising capital, it was because of that big surprise exit. My whole brand was organic food, farming, like, that's what I was building. And I didn't realize that when you build yourself as a brand, whatever you do for the rest of your life, it will keep remonetizing, reactivating. And when I partnered up with that first fund and went on a podcast tour, people meet you in long form and then they, see your shorts that are collaborated. You're leveraging all these other networks for people to see you. And then the inbound leads start coming in, right? They're scheduling on your link or sending you a DM. I raised my first $10 million that way, all organically from accredited investors. And I did zero cold calling. I did a lot of work like this, a lot of media, and then it's okay. What events do you have? What else can we partner on? Can I come speak? Do you have a mastermind? And it's really just a people game. And when people get to meet you the first time in a place of, let's say, authority, right? You're a speaker or you're on a podcast or it's collaborated content with people they respect. That's going to change the frame when you have that conversation. And there's just an elevated level of trust. And that's ultimately what capital raising is. It's the hardest trust sale there is for someone to say, hey, my money's better off with you than with me.
yeah, absolutely. Talk tactics. If somebody wanted to go out and start this cycle that you're talking about, what are the, I don't know, top 1 to 2 things they can do to get the ball rolling?
Just get started. We have a social media marketing business too, over 5,000 brands. So we deal with a lot of people that are getting started. And the number one thing I hear is, well, once I get my first deal done, I'm going to start creating content. Like once I get, it's once I get here, then I'll start. And it's totally backwards. You want to
Mm,
start when you have the imposter syndrome, when you've done nothing, and you want everyone to incrementally see your journey on the way there.
yeah.
That's the big difference of being willing to show up when you suck. I think is all the difference of who ends up winning in the end.
Yeah. And I will say on things like podcasts, it, it gets a lot easier once you kind of just know your own story. And when you're, living life and you're not talking about your story often, you don't really think about it. But it just takes 1, 2, 3 podcasts to have gone through and kind of reiterate your story to come up with a coherent story that you can bring into every single event or deal that you're doing or podcast that you're doing, and it just makes it a lot easier. So understanding your story and where you're going is kind of makes that process a little bit smoother, I would say.
Yeah, branding's just so much different than marketing, and it's so important, right? Like if I have a weak brand and I'm DMing big podcasts, they look at it and say, "Well, there's no leverage here for me." So the smartest thing I ever did was strategically build brand ahead of it, meaning I partnered with big celebrities that had big brands that could pump my content out, that could grow my following. So that way, when I did go into the DMs to get on these shows and leverage high level relationships, they wanted the fair exchange of my brand too.
There you go. All right, that leads us to the very last question. This is for the listeners. You've given us a lot to think about. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you. This is a two-parter. Where can they find you? And then what can they expect when they reach out?
So I'm on all the social medias. There's nobody else in the world with a crazy last name like mine. So I'll just spell it. It's Justin, Freischtat. What you can expect is I answer all my DMs. I do have people that, help me in facilitating outbound. But if you do send me a DM on any platform, it will be me answering. Would love to hop on a call. One thing I've learned is just a people game. So even if you're not accredited yet and you can't even deploy capital, but you just want to learn about the space, like I'd love to meet with anyone and everyone. And there's a lot of people I'm doing business with today that I met 5-10 years ago. So there's never a wrong time to talk to somebody.
There you go. I'll put that link in the show notes. So if y'all want to reach out to Justin, all you got to do is click the little more in the description. It's going to pull down that full description, and in there you can find his links. All right, man. That wraps it up. Thank you very much for hopping on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. For everybody who's with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. If you guys want to support the show, just leave a comment or a review or anything like that. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.